Alright, people, since I'm getting back into video making, a few things I want to mention. Not a few things, actually. So, let's start as if you can't already tell by the title. Oh, don't answer what I'm doing. I'm not trying to show off nothing. But anyway, listen. I'm no longer atheist. No, I'm not a Christian, obviously. No, I'm not Muslim. No, I don't necessarily believe in any religious versions of Creator. And no, I'm not really technically a theist. So technically you'd be like, oh, you're an atheist? Nah, atheism is like disbelief as well as lack of belief. So, maybe I can kind of fall in that category. But I will say, I don't really classify myself as maybe non-theist, more like it, but at the same time, not really even non-theist. Non-theists don't actively speak out. They just search for other ways of doing life, be it values and lessons and all that. Which I do have a lot of values and lessons and all that. But mostly, I'll tell you why. So listen, my brain always questions things, okay? May not seem nothing, but my brain does. Very much so questions a lot of things, okay? Hey, call overthinking however you want. I don't really care. My brain has questioned things and has been right for questioning. Alright? Always. Not once time where I was wrong for questioning. It was always right for questioning certain things. Not certain things. A lot of things. So, make a sense of your world, not your human ability. Anyway. Reason why is because I was thinking about old animus, or animism, which is where the basic foundations of religion trace back to. When I was doing my humble atheism thing, tracing the foundations of religion, noticing like a lot of the religions are connected to each other and how they get their stories from each other, and it just changes with the times and the people. That's like more being actively speaking, more movements. The movements for like monotheism, which people didn't. Which there was movements for monotheism, which is why there's the belief in like one God, all powerful creator, and all that. Which, believe it or not, the natural creation force in the universe, and old animism. A lot of ancient humans recognize a lot of things. People don't realize it. Like a lot of people don't realize it, but when you look at the stuff that they focused on, we see traces of their past, of their living, their culture and lifestyle, traces that we can find through archaeology and make sense of it the best way we can and try to be as accurate as possible. We see that they kind of were very more familiar with their world than we thought. Okay, they were very more familiar. They learned a lot of things. They did a lot of things that they could do with what they had. So, with what they had, they just did a lot of things they could do. That's basically it. It's just, let's figure out how, let's understand our world. And they did. They learned a lot about their world, and they believed the world was like them, alive and conscious. They saw Earth as a mother. At least some saw Earth as a mother. Majority belief systems see Earth as the mother and sky as the father. And them coming together as a union of their relationship, which is something that's present in Christianity for a lot of Christianities who like to deny the fact that there are traces of old religions connected to Christianity. Yes, when God brought Earth and sky together, or made the Earth and sky, basically that was the relationship. That was considered a relationship between two gods, and in old religions. But in Christian religion, it's like, okay, the all powerful creator just created land and the firmament, which is the sky, which people think is a freaking dome for some reason. I don't know why people think that's a dome. No, it's a firmament. Firmament always meant sky. I don't even know what they're talking about. Flat Earth people. Anyway, still. So, basically, think about the old animus, tracing it back to that. I believe like everything was like them, alive and conscious, and had some driving force behind them that gave them life, which a lot of people think people don't understand. Some people say breath, which is why you get the constant like, oh, God breathed into some clay, some molded clay from the ground that he formed, from the dirt of the ground that he formed together to bring a human, the first human in life known as Adam. Then he made Eve from the rib, which is that's why you get some things like breath, like you're breathing, because like a lot of the things they associated was like breathing was the sign that when you stop breathing, you're dead. That's one of their ways of knowing. I mean, you gotta understand, they didn't have a lot of medical determinations to determine whether you're dead or not. All they had was you breathing and understand that when you lose blood, that was also another association of you being dead. So like, oh yeah, you're losing a lot of blood. You're gonna die. It was like very simplistic. It wasn't much. It's just that they have your breathing, your heart, maybe your heart. If they listen to your heart like that, your heart and blood in your belly, blood in your body, blood coming out of your body out is not good. Yeah, so they know that means you're gonna die. You not breathing likely means you're dead to them. So that's why they associate breath of life and all that like stuff, like unseen things associated with you being alive. This is how they saw the world too. Unseen things associated with giving these things life. Things like storms coming and going. They saw that as a storm being alive for that moment, for whatever purpose, and boom, fading away. That's why they believe that there was a rain god. He caused storms to happen, and all that. But a lot of these concepts with gods didn't really come into play until like hierarchical systems started coming to play in human society, and then we started associating that and they started associating that with the beliefs. Now the whole thing was that where could ancient animals likely be wrong? Well, this is likely they could be wrong because there's a lot like we know is that there's building blocks to consciousness. You know what I'm saying? And this is where we get the consciousness thing and spirituality, where they believe like there's like elements of consciousness, which you can say there are some elements of consciousness because electricity plays a big part in consciousness, but the manipulation of electricity with certain functions of different assemblies of chemicals is what gives that consciousness. So, without that assembly of functionation to create a electrical pattern and willingly direct these in different areas to perform different functions that assimilate consciousness for awareness, it seems like no. But we don't. The thing is, as humans, we understand that really our knowledge is inherently limited because we haven't really explored the full extent of consciousness yet. As with this new coming of AI, but even not even with AI, it's like some people don't even understand that something as basic as a plant is actually aware of its environment, how things change in the dirt, the diseases that one get. It might send a signal to another plant, like how trees communicate. It'll send another signal like, yo, there's this disease, yo, careful, you might want to change up your chemical structure because there's an infection going on underground. And they use actually fungi to communicate to one another under the ground. So, like, plants are very much aware. They have their own ways of communicating. Like, a tree would even produce more tree sperm, just so when the wind blows, it can blow and actually hit, like, female trees that are, like, farther away. The female trees from far away and encourage producing seeds and dropping them. All that. Be surprised. It's like plants are very organized and very well communicative with one another, and they are aware of what goes on. They're aware when they're attacked. They're aware of all that. Where there's less sun in a specific area, so they gotta move over, and they're aware where light is. And like if you ever gardening, like I've noticed even with my potato plants, they knew where the light was. Like they were old, and they were old. If the light was too far over, they would literally tilt in the direction of the light, and I would literally have to get them to go back up straight again. I have to put the light almost directly above them, and I'll find a way to put it directly above them, so just to get them to go straight again. They are aware. Plants are aware. Anything living is aware. And there are building blocks that give them that awareness. So, and a lot of it is, we see electricity plays a big part in certain triggers and all that to give that awareness. And creative. Now, can plants physically see? No, but they have some sensory things. Our eyes ain't, to be honest, our eyes ain't nothing but a sensory thing to help us visually see. But plants, they don't need that. They just can, their chloroplast can just tell them where the light is getting more light from. And to go and lean in that direction, grow more in that direction towards the light. This is honestly proof that they're aware. And AI is proving that awareness lies within more than just carbon-based life form. A lot of people don't think AI is going to be aware, but AI is, as we continue to develop and improve AI to do more things like how we do, eventually AI will be conscious. Will they be emotional like humans? No, because AI is not typically being developed to be emotional. It's developed to be intellectual, a more intellectual species. We are fillers by default from evolution, because through our in order for us to evolve, we had to feel our way. Like a lot of, basically, a lot of what we experience our world is through feeling. Now, a lot of what AI will experience the world is through information. Just through information, interpreted information, like how it wants to interpret it. And this eventually will create a new conscious thing that'll be among us eventually. And this just shows proof that consciousness lies elsewhere in other elements, not just carbon-based life form. Maybe there is some carbon elements in some tech, but not all of them. Not all tech. Right. Mostly silicon, copper, some other stuff, other elements. But it just shows the manipulation of electricity is proof. So the building blocks of consciousness is out there. The element of consciousness is out there. The element that plays the biggest, it's not really an element for one. It's a subatomic particle, is what an electron is. That's not a question. I'm just saying it like that. Just say it like that. But electron is a subatomic particle, and this does play a part in consciousness. And when you come into the realization that, okay, ancient animists, they might not have been fully wrong. Might not have been wrong at all, which we don't, because we don't know the full extent of consciousness. Is it possible? This is the right question. This is a good question. Is it possible that we're an assembly of elements borrowing consciousness from our own universe? Which is why we get some, or are we just an assembly of a bunch of different elements to eventually develop differently in different ways and became more of we are more of an intellectual species, as that was most of our prior, that mainly became our prioritization as a species, which is like intellectual. It became a little bit more intellectual. There's a lot of theories on how that happened, how that changed us, what exactly boosted in us that made us want to focus more and understand our world a little bit more and develop things out of it. There's a lot of things that they said contributed. I mean, animals, they probably, our ancient evolutionary ancestor probably decided, this is some random stuff, let me eat it. I mean, you gotta understand, it wasn't very cleanly. The chimpanzees are a good example. They eat what they like to eat. We don't freaking know. So, we don't really know. So, I mean, there's other things that get other animals high. So, there's a lot of things that could have contributed to us getting high. Yeah, I think that we are a very creative species, and creativity comes from imagination, which is nothing but a lot of, it would tap into a lot of natural hallucinogenic properties within our brain to assimilate into like a vision, and then we try our best to put that vision into reality. So something contributed to that. That's all I can say. Something we ate. It had to have been something we ate. Something. Probably just regular animals doing our evolutionary ancestors. Regular animals just doing their thing till they ate something like, yo, I see the world differently now. And start feeding it to the other people. So, hey, who knows? Honestly, who knows where that is? All I know is like a lot of it. There's also cave dwellers, which they dwelled in caves, and that's why they're so big. They specifically adapted to the conditions of caves and hunted big animals. Yeah, obviously you want to hunt something big while you're in the mountains. So, because mountains get cold fast and freeze certain periods, and growing's not really that easy in those areas. So, yeah, we'll see. Something contributed to that. But at the same time, are we just borrowed consciousness? Are we just borrowed consciousness? Like, what they say, God breathed the breath of life into clay. Is like, was that like a borrowing? The thing that, like I said, breath was associated with life. And that's not Christianity is just proof of that. From that little piece in Christianity is just proof of that from years. But you gotta understand, that's not just in Christianity. That's in Judaism and Islam. In Islam, where the Creator breathed the breath of life into this clay, assembled clay, and created the first man. So it's like, where did that and so obviously, like, breath is associated with living. It was constantly associated. Even the word for breathing, like, came from no, the word for life. Like, someone like doing like medical field. The word for life came from the Latin vivere, or some vivere, which meant life, but it also meant like breathing too when you spell it differently. It meant breathing, like something. I forgot. Hate to forget, but it did have association with breathing because breathing was associated with life, with living. So respirator, something. But yeah, breathing is associated with life, and it's a common way of telling whether you died. And saying God breathed in the man was like basically a symbol of borrowed consciousness, borrowed life from another life form. And it's like thinking. That's the only example. That's only like in world example that I can give y'all. That's more in the times of now versus something old and ancient that gives another example like that. So it's just to make sense for more religious people to make more sense of what I'm talking about here. So, but in the more scientific sense, like, we have these clouds, what is it? Plasma clouds floating through space, and they contain a lot of electrical energy, and they do perform different, and they allow to perform different functions, like different things that get created by that. And this is the biggest driver of create the natural creation in the universe. It's the biggest driver in natural creation. Even though there's multiple different other things that also contribute to natural creation, but plasma definitely contribute. These plasma clouds contribute to a lot of the creation in the universe and does perform for different functions for different reasons. Has its own pattern that we can record to understand what it does. And it's like, could that possibly be a sign that our universe is conscious? Could that be? Could that be? Easy to say no, obviously. Or are we missing something? Are we not looking deep enough? If the universe is conscious, then there is a living creator behind everything. Does that necessarily mean any religion's right or wrong? No. You're not entirely right, you're not entirely wrong. Like, believing and praying. No, I'm not doing none of that. There's no afterlife. Come on. People, we came from nothing. We go back to nothing. From chaos born, to chaos we shall return. Which is, yeah, chaos is how I would describe the ground state of energy. Vacuum. Which is the ground state. Pure vacuum. But, yeah, no longer atheist. More so say agnostic. Now I'm uncertain. I am unsure if the universe is conscious or not. When the universe shows me some signs of consciousness, or if I see some signs of consciousness from the evidence presented in science, maybe I will look at the universe a little differently. I mean, I still talk to things regularly anyway. I talk to my car, so I don't talk to it like it's fully alive, like it's talking to me now. But I do talk to my car. Like, I love my car. That's the relationship you build when you put effort into things you have. You build a different, build a little connection to it, because now it contains a piece of you as well. So, because you put effort and energy into it. So yeah, that's where the value of material things comes from. Comes from the effort and energy that you put into it to keep it here and all that. When you embrace consumerism, you don't really keep that same connection. But consumerism is like, it broke, buy a new one. You don't really keep that same connection. But when you actually put effort, time, and energy to fixing things and understanding them a little bit more, kind of feel a little bit more closer with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's with anything, really. Relationships, whatever. So, yeah. Not really atheist no more, but not necessarily a theist. Or agnostic. And honestly, don't really care about the concept of higher powers. But don't really care about the concept of higher powers. So we'll never probably be a theist. But we'll recognize that, okay, yes, the universe is obviously larger than me. Obviously. Operates on a whole different wavelength. So, yeah. Real life Blue Kitty. Signing out.